Hey there, welcome to Something About Tabletop, and with me today are these two fine gentlemen. I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Go ahead, Bluey first.
I'm bluey. Leave me alone.
Alright, and with me is Notbob.
I'm not Bob. Don't leave me alone. I get so lonely.
So very lonely. So today our little talk, as you can probably tell by the title, is it doesn't really have a word for it, but I guess we're kind of calling it dominant strategy and best option in games. We're just basically talking about when you get an RPG game. This pretty much happens with all of them. There's always going to be a best strategy or a better way to do something, and ultimately you see everybody doing it. The most popular one in Shadowrun, not Bob. You're pretty much a Shadowrun master. What's the most popular thing you see people doing in Shadowrun all the time?
Probably I see it a lot. Probably Sleeping Tiger plus Synergist Business Line Overcoat combo. With
Super face.
Not even Superface. I see Street Sams. Everyone has a fucking suit and a fucking trench coat because it's literally the best armor. SWAT armor is worse than that. No other armor character creation can be anywhere as good as a suit and a business coat.
It's kind of crazy, and I'm not a fan of it. I've actually considered banning it from my table because it's just downright silly.
I mean, just like specifically for that item, the Sleeping Tiger, I'm not sure why it's available like at 12F, because ultimately has retinol and polymer coating, which is 16F. That has always confused me.
And it has better armor than like an armor jacket.
Yes, a suit.
And
it's concealable armor. It's a concealable armor in a high fashion suit.
Gives you social bonuses as well. It is also $13,000. I mean, the price tag is suitable. But I mean, other than that, the suit's ridiculous. And
I would argue against calling it high fashion, though. In 3rd edition, it's basically like a pimp suit they sell to orcs and trolls for like slumming it.
It's labeled under like high fashion. I mean, technically I flavor it however I like it because I paid $13,000 for it. What?
I mean, also on top of that, Shadowrun also suffers from a lot of people with fucking Ares Alphas and Ares Predators.
Ares Alpha gives you a fucking grenade launcher when most of them are like forbidden. Like you can't get most grenade launchers at character creation, I'm pretty sure.
Also, on top of that, there's just a bunch of other things that happen in Shadowrun and D&D and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like the Charisma Mage, the Elven Charisma Mage. It is, for all intents and purposes, the best mage for spellcasting. I mean, that's the truth.
Well, I'd argue against, you get more dice, but the intuition cast is also amazing because intuition is just used in so many more skills.
Intuition is pretty god mode.
It is. But ultimately, we see this a lot in RPG games and stuff like that. Do you guys have any ideas of why people do this? Why do game designers make some things better than others and then just chuck in a lot of crap?
I don't think they decide, this will be the most superior item / weapon / armor in the game, and then everything else will be shit. We'll just pile it in. I think it's more of a, we'll make this and this and this and maybe put this in, and then that's really powerful. But they don't think it'll throw off.
But like in Shadowrun, for example, like the more books that come out, the more and more amazing things that come out with them. Like, I'm pretty sure the Sleeping Tiger suit was in Run and Gun. We've got like bullshit. I can't think of any guns off the top of my head, but most recently you've got like depleted uranium, like bullets and stuff. And you can't get those at character creation, fortunately. But like they just keep stepping it up, and everyone's just coming everywhere, and. Yeah, I think maybe it's some kind of business model they're using. They're like, you can make better characters with our new book. Buy it.
Yeah, that's actually something called Ivory Tower Design. They put a whole bunch of shit in books, like separate books. They make them better, and they're for use for specific kinds of characters. And ultimately, it draws people into buying those books. It's using game design all the time.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Like I played 40k. Pretty big couple years ago, and And like, I was an orc kind of guy, because of course I was, and like they just every new codex that came out was better and bigger, and there was this big dick measuring contest of who could get the biggest model, which was the most overpowered. And like at first it was the Tau, and then it was the Eldar, and then I stopped playing because it got to a point where like I could do nothing. It hurt.
Yeah, and you see this in all kinds of games, like you said before, not just RPGs. And this is ultimately just to get shit sold. And it's a bit sad that that needs to happen, like, because it can ultimately ruin a game. Because when you walk into a room or a meet and you see everyone in a sleeping tiger, you kind of just sigh.
Yeah, like I can understand why some people pick weaker weapons if they're good role players, because it's to do with the character. Like they like that gun, they trained with that gun, it handles better and different to say a Ruger Super Warhawk. If you want to kill someone, don't use a light pistol, use a fucking Ruger Super Warhawk.
Yeah, I feel as if a lot of the like items in the book, especially for Shadowrun, are dependent on the type of setting and like game style you want to play.
Yeah, my problem though is it doesn't immediately come across. It doesn't give those suggestions. It gives you the awesome guns and stuff like that, and it just kind of the thing is you're ultimately going to see a lot more people doing that, and then it becomes up to the GM to moderate that. But then again, maybe it should be like that. Maybe the GM should moderate it, and it's not completely up to the game designers. And you actually see this in a few different systems where there's this push and pull between how much power should the GM have, how much power should the game designers have.
Well, maybe like a Shadowrun campaign, even the GM could be like, here's a list of gear that I have tailored. You can pick from this, nothing more.
Mm-hmm. Or ban some gear, one of the two, whichever's least work.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot what I was going to say. Someone else go.
So just on that earlier point, when you like, for an example of what happens in Shadowrun, you've got the auctioneer business suit, which is 1,500 million, 8 sort of armor. That's that great armor wise. Pistols will kill you, but it's a suit. It's fancy. It was made. It put in the core rulebook to be the fancy suit you wear to the meet, but it has armor. But as Run and Gunners come out, you buy the Zoe Executive Suite, which is 12 armor and 2,000 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically slightly more expensive than like an armored jacket, and slightly more expensive than the suit, but it's a ball and suit, and there's like no downsides to taking it.
Yeah. And this is kind of something that I've noticed in Shadowrun is that GMs and the community as a whole has made it their point, and as they should, to make certain items worse. Because it's like, sure, you have a suit, but when it's covered in bullet holes, you just get rid of social negatives. You get more social negatives, in fact. And that's something that I see a lot of people doing, like with a lot of items in Shadowrun in general, is just making them worse because in real life, they would be worse.
Yeah. Well, I do remember when we spoke to one of the writers of the Shadowrun books, he did say there was a system to do with making what you could carry on your body linked in with strength or something, or like
no, that rule, that house rule, he said it was like strength times 3 equals the armor value you could carry.
Yeah, that's right. It was it limited your.
It would fix armor just entirely, and would make sense for why there is so much armor value 9 stuff in the game.
But I think they just edited it out because they didn't want it to be. They admitted it was clunky. There was just so much math going on already, but like it made sense. I think it was already a thing, and it was in 4th edition, wasn't it?
It was 2
times
times 2.
Body.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that ultimately that's what actually fixed armor from being ridiculous.
Yeah, because you could eat it. Tank characters are so easy to make, so broken.
Well, the thing
until you bring magic out.
Basically, the tanky characters were tanky and the faces weren't tanky. But in this, you can as easily make a face tanky, if not tankier, than the Street Sam if they don't do the gear right. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah, no. Another thing is just like that I always say, straying a bit from armor, was just stacking armor piercing on like guns all the time. Because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this.
Because everyone has so much armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of an active choice. Like, I don't see people use flechette rounds, and that kind of comes into this. Like, as much as there's really good items and things you see always taking, you see shit people never take.
Yeah,
Flechette
because you
rounds is a
see,
big one.
you see +5 AP, and you're like, yuck! Don't even look at me.
But
Yeah.
I did the maths. You actually come out slightly better
When you do
even
the
against
bursts.
armored.
When you do the bursts.
Because if you'll get like 1, maybe 2 hits, but like the damage you get is totes worth.
It's basically even because it's +2 damage, +5 AP.
Yeah.
No, because most shotguns are also negative. It's pretty much just slightly, but the problem is, and this is large dice pools can skew a lot more, and so you have more chances of rolling more. So on average, the goddamn medium, yeah, sure, it's better, but on 100% average, looking at all the deviations, it's not.
It's also a thing in like Shadowrun. There's a stigma, especially with if I don't kill that person in one shot, then I'm useless. I feel horrible.
I'm not. Yeah, at least in our group we get like that. I'm not sure if notbob feels that, or at least gets that.
May a little bit if like a combat character and he just kind of like tanks it. Why is he not dead? Because a lot of the time, even if it's not a killing blow, the kind of dude will just go down because 7 physical damage is not a laughing matter, and after you get hit with that, you don't want to get back up.
No, not at all. So let's focus on a little bit more about the little guys again. So, I mean, ultimately, they don't do it on purpose, but game designers also put in trash options that actually almost do nothing and cause bloat in the system. What are your views on those? Because they're the things, this could have been a lot better. Why didn't they make this slightly better to compete with the other things that are way overpowered?
Oh god, Shadowrun has so much of these.
Mm-hmm.
It's just silly.
Like the fucking musket. It's so useless in this setting too.
Like even skill-wise, there are so many things that are just not worth it. Like, why would you take biotechnology or cybertechnology when you can just call up a dude who knows how to fix cyber alarms? Because there's no rules in the book for damaging cyber alarms.
I've never done anything with artificing in my life.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think, at least in my opinion, I think Shadowrun is what you would call a simulationist game. And here's kind of my rebuttal, is that they wanted to put so that if you wanted to do anything, that you could. So ultimately, this creates a lot of junk options that a normal Shadowrunner or a normal player would never take. But when we say look at some systems like Pathfinder in D&D, these bloat looks even more stupid. Like, I've played Pathfinder, Bluey's played a little bit. I'm not sure how much Pathfinder you've played, notbob?
I have played 0 D&D, and that's weird.
I know next to nothing about Pathfinder, so it's all you.
It's all me here, but I'm just going to say this here. They're the worst for creating Ivory Tower design, because 3.5 originally was all about it, which is having certain options for certain things. And some of these specialized options they have in those games make me want to vomit. Like a sea witch. Oh, I can be a witch in the fucking sea. Cool. What sea campaign are we playing? Never. There's never been a sea campaign. No one plays those. Some people do, but cool. There's so many options like for underwater things, people who fly in the sky, people battling in storms, like prestige classes and special classes that are better at fighting in storms. And it's like, this isn't going to help an average player. This is useless. But no one uses it. It is literally taking up book space. And, back when I used to play Pathfinder, I'd buy the books and I would just get trash. Basically, nothingness. Commons in a Magic Gathering pack, that kind of crap. It doesn't feel good. It's annoying. Luckily, Shadowrun, you can kind of see why they did it, at least in my opinion, because, you need to show the shittiest of the shit, because Ganger's got to have a gun somehow. So, yeah.
Yeah, like you're saying, you need a cheap option. Like, the thing is, Shadowrun does give you the option to play street level as well, and not many street level people are going to have, like, Ares Alphas and, like, freaking Desert Strike snipers, all that. So they kind of need to make things for that gap.
and like different settings and sort of like locations in Shadowrun, because the availabilities in the book are Seattle based. You take it anywhere in the world and you change up the availabilities to fit what's happening. For example, I'm starting to build an Australian sort of campaign, and I look at all these guns and say, no, we would not have these in such huge demand. And if we did, you would get like SWAT teams called on your ass instantly. So it's actually done a lot of different like changing to the ivory tower. Like you don't roll around with an Ares Alpha because that's super illegal, and you get like, well, it's already illegal, but you get like called up by the cops and then arrested forevers. So concealable pistols become the new norm, and melee is super useful, and there's actual use for outdoor skills because, you know, Straya and driving.
Who takes navigate? I just use my GPS. It's Australia. So, you know, Mana Storms fuck with that. So navigate's actually useful again.
Hooray! And yeah, we've experienced that because we've also been playing in an Australian setting. I will admit the GM didn't change the gun availability, so my character does indeed have an Ares Alpha. So, you know, you might make a cringe. But I think he might be changing some stuff since he's been reading your stuff. So good job, Notbob. You're setting things working already. So
Yay!
Catalyst, hi notbob,
do it.
and subscribe to our videos.
Do it now.
Also, magic. There are so many spells that are better than other spells.
Oh god, I know. So many.
Also,
I mean,
just gonna stop you here. Magic in general is just better than everything else.
oh,
That's how it should be.
Magic's incredible. I love Magic, and Magic users, in my opinion, are the strongest combat characters, no matter what.
Yep. They are. Mr.
That's-
Cadaps, man.
That is why
Yeah.
the term Geek the Mage exists, because you don't know what the mage is going to do, if he's just going to go invisible, or suddenly there's a Force 12 lightning ball in front of your face, roll soak, you're dead.
My personal favorite, yeah. Force 12 lightning balls. Done them a few times now. Pretty fun.
Alright, so from what I can tell here and like working this all out, so I think we've kind of got two kinds of systems and this kind of problems and like what's going on here. So we've got some systems like Shadowrun that are simulationist. So the developers have ultimately given you all the options that you need and have done very little to actually try to balance the game. Like they've tried, but they haven't tried too much. And then you've got systems like D&D and 3.5 and Pathfinder that try way too hard to balance the game, even nerfing some aspects to the point that it doesn't really make any sense.
Oh, I have an analogy.
Go on.
It's like Deus Ex, the original, versus Skyrim. In Deus Ex, you can put like all of your points into poison eating and swimming and be absolutely awful and unable to finish the game, or you could be Skyrim and just put your points into whatever the frag you want and just be balling at whatever you do.
Yeah, and D&D 5th is good, but ultimately, what do you guys feel is the best way to approach it? Because, I mean, there's D&D 5th, which has done this. It is so balanced. That game, I think, in my opinion, is one of the most balanced RPGs that I've seen. If you flame me in the comments below if you think otherwise. And a lot of the classes line up with each other pretty well. Sure, there are some that are worse, but ultimately nothing's unplayable. But Shadowrun, you can walk in with a character that literally can't even Shadowrun.
Oh, I've seen that happen so many times.
Oh, yeah.
I personally like how Notbob says frag as a swear word.
It's in my lingo, I can't change it, and I've
Like,
said it in public so many times, it
gonna
gives
start-
me weird looks.
Start saying Breck and Chummer.
I have! It's really bad, because it's like, what the
Anyway,
fuck does
so-
Chummer mean, mate? I'm like, oh.
In your
Nothing.
opinion, guys, what is better, the hand-holding balancing or the brutal, this is the system,
But
this
yeah,
is the
like,
world,
I've
go for it?
read the D&D Player's Handbook because I was once going to get into a D&D game that never happened. It looked pretty balanced, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is very balanced.
And from... yeah.
You go.
Sorry, yeah, what I was just saying is, from my experience, most RPGs take the hand-holding approach, keeping things balanced.
I think that's why Dungeons and Dragons is a game to learn on and start on, because, like, yeah, when you start at level one characters are equally like competent. Shadowrun, a system that I started on, I had to learn like to be cutthroat. I had to learn to be good. So I was born in the min maxing. I was molded by it.
I was molded by it. I was min-maxing before you were even born.
But as I've matured as a role player, as I play mages, I choose not to pick overpowered spells because I realize that it's just an I win button sometimes, and I don't like. Like Mob Mind it's a completely evil spell, and it is so powerful. You can take out extremely powerful like people, like maybe not mages as such, but you see that combat monster over there that no one can even get through his armor with. Yeah, I just controlled his mind. I'm gonna make him kill himself in some way. I don't know how, but he's gonna kill himself.
He spends 5 turns trying to kill himself, and even that doesn't finish the job.
And I'm just like, no.
I've actually done that. They mind-controlled a massive troll to kill himself, and he didn't have any guns. He was a fist troll, so he sat there punching himself for multiple rounds. It took him a very long time to kill himself. It was fucking horrible.
Still did it.
Still did it.
Oh, it would be even better if it was control action, so he knew what he was doing, but had no ability to stop it.
I always imagine that, like, control actions on people, it looks kind of puppeteery, so, like, it's all jerky around, like strings are pulling them, and it just looks all messed up and scary.
But yeah, I think it boils down to a lot of people, if you're in the right mindset and have like know how to play role-playing games, you can sort of realize this isn't a game where I make biggest number, I win. It's a shared storytelling experience.
Pretty much.
So you build characters which are interesting, fun, and not always I'm the best at X, Y, Z.
Okay.
I roll dice.
But look at it this way, it happens a lot. So a lot of people come into this and do make the big numbers and still have some fun. And
oh yeah, definitely.
Should it be up to the game developers to stop this if they want their game played in a specific way?
No, I think Shadowrun has accounted for all types of players. Min-maxers, narratives, and simulationists alike. They have accounted for a large crowd.
Okay.
As long as everyone at the table is on the same page, I feel it's fine.
It's to do with your group and your GM, basically, if it's going to be a problem or not.
Okay, yeah, so once again, we're boiled down to the thing of make sure everyone is doing the same thing.
Basically. Yeah. Which is what most GM problems and player problems boil down to. People have expectations, and they're not met because there obviously wasn't a discussion that happened to, bring this to light. And if you as a GM or you as a player aren't finding something enjoyable, talk to the other people in your group. Say, I'm not having fun here. And then try and make it so that everyone in the group is having fun. So for example, in Shadowrun, if everyone in the group is some sort of face or legworky black trenchcoat character, and you are playing the only pink mohawk, I shoot guns because I'm a Vietnam II veteran and cyberarms, and you're not having any fun because every game you're just sitting on your ass twiddling your thumbs waiting for that never happens. You could say, GM, we could make me a new character, or maybe like chuck in a few combat.
Yeah. Basically, I just wanted to reiterate, if you're having a bad roleplay experience, 9 times out of 10, it's not the game designer's fault. It's normally the environment you're in, or maybe yourself.
Unless it's fatal.
Unless it's... I rolled for anal circumference. I'm having fun now.
Here's one thing. There are actually systems out there that help you roleplay and actually handhold you through the role-playing experience. I've played some of these systems, and they're actually really good at introducing new players into it. Fate is actually one of them, with the use of fate points and compelling and aspects. Basically, you can compel an aspect, say if they have a trouble called I like raping women, you can compel an aspect, but you give them a fate point. I probably shouldn't have said that, but that's what came into my mind. I'm a sick fucking parrot.
It came into your mind.
Sorry I mentioned fatal, jeez.
I'm sorry, someone said fatal and anal circumference. My mind was there. So, and you get compelled to do that action. So what do you guys feel about actually being forced by the GM who's literally bribing you with a point of edge to do something? Because Fate does it.
I look him in the eye and tell him to stop railroading me, and proceed to do my own thing. No, I'm completely fine with Fate doing that because sometimes people struggle to make choices of their own in roleplay games. Like it can be it's an out of body experience. You're trying to be someone else in a different world, and you kind of get lost. Especially this is a thing when I was new. I had no idea what to do in Shadowrun. I'd sit there for ages thinking, what would my character do? But when I have a GM go, this is your character. This is an aspect, and I'm making your character think like this right now. You have one of two options to choose from. Do it, and that's not a bad idea.
What about yourself, notbob? I'm assuming you haven't played Fate before, so.
No, I've heard it talked about, and it's a very narrative-based system, yeah. Very crunch.
Love narrative.
So yeah, I feel as if your group is really into crunch and simulationist games, might not be the best things for you. But if you're trying to get someone who's never played a role-playing game in your life, they think Dungeons and Dragons is what weirdos do in their mother's basement, and satanic death cults, then it's a good way to like break the stigma and get them into it and realize, oh, I have control of a character who is different to me and has motivations and strengths and weaknesses, and it really helps you get into learning how to play the character. And like I hear like a few people who are friends say the same thing about Dungeon World. It's a good teaching device. Never played it myself.
Okay, so what if, say, if I did a Shadowrun game where you wrote down things about your character and how he acts and negatives of him, and if I were to literally bribe you with edge, how would you feel? Like, would you take that edge and do the thing based on what I thought? Literally role-playing your character for you? Is that something you'd be okay with?
I wouldn't say it's literally role-playing the character if it's just bribing. If I've created a good enough backstory and say, my name's Johnny Killperson, and I'm a street samurai from the mean streets of downtown Seattle, etc., and I give like a good enough backstory, then it should be that the GM and the player are on the same page for what the character would do. And then the bribing edge is just good roleplay.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what Fate is. And I'm pro Fate, just so you know. I'm just trying to come from a impartial point so that they can make the decisions, and because it is interesting that at the same time, we like systems that are totally hands-off like Shadowrun, and then there's hands-on systems like Fate, and we can work them all out. I just think that's kinda cool.
Fate kind of reminds me of like when Telltale takes a game such as Borderlands and makes a narrative out of it. You have to make choices. That's what Fate is to me. You can just apply it to settings and make it less crunch effective and more narrative.
Yeah, kind of a little
which
tangent.
Is good.
Oh yeah, sorry, go on, Nobbob.
But because Shadowrun is really not a good game for first timers. Like,
No.
I love it, but
I started on it. It was great.
Eldritch tome of editing and years worth of 30 years worth of real life fluff. And just so much setting and crunch. It's really overwhelming for like new players. It's like, how do I shoot web? And you just say, maybe we'll play a narrative game. When you're feeling ready for it, move you up.
I'm still behind on like things in Shadowrun. I don't read up on. It's too overwhelming. And for like 2 years now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of pull this all around, and I'm gonna, just work this out again. So we've kind of talked about all this stuff and like all the different systems and things, but ultimately, that's right. When it comes down to like how hands-on, how hands-off the system is or whatever, and, the best options, who ultimately should be controlling the options and the balance of your game? Should it be the game designers or should it be the GM? Or should it be both?
Absolutely. It's your choice if you want to play games like Shadowrun, which does have these kind of crazy different balances and power and stuff. And if the GM doesn't like it, then it's their job to like stop you. The game designers are trying to make a world, and they're pouring their fucking hearts out to doing it. So, If you don't like something, just the GM. It's up to the GM and the people you play with to control that.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
you
Rule
know,
Zero exists. Rule Zero exists for a reason, which is shit. I may have forgotten Rule Zero. It's like if you
GM
don't like
knows
it,
best.
change it. GM knows best.
Yeah.
So if they've written Sleeping Tiger is 13 grand XYZ, GM can go, not really feeling it for my setting, bit overpowered. I'm gonna tweak it up, guys. That cool with you? All right, change it.
All right. I mean, from my experience, and definitely when you may be coming from like organized play, which notbob has a lot of experience with, I have a lot of experiences. When you're changing stuff like that on a more local level, a lot of players get very visceral and angry about it. And because in organized play, also you can't just play with the people that you want to, and this is where ultimately all these problems boil down to. This is where you see the worst min maxes. This is where you see the most clashes with playstyle, is because you're playing with random people. And what do you have to say about that, Notbob, seeing as you're very in depth with the community of, the Runner Hub?
Yeah, Runner Hub. So, organized play, Runner Hub is sort of like, there's a point where it's impossible to have every single table running at the exact same variation of Shadowrun because the book is so fragmented. It's just hard if you're trying to do everyone's different interpretations. So we've got this thing called the Rules Division, who have basically gone and said, this is what we do, that's how we do it, X, Y, Z, this is banned, this is not banned, this is why, etc. And having that basis of everything sort of being out there and ruled, so there's a concrete ruling, is really important, because without it, it just goes, well, Sleeping Tiger does X, so I can do Y, GM, and then GM says, no, Sleeping Tiger can't do Y, it can do Z. See, here is the little paragraph in the rigor section which says so. But here's the little part in the Straight Samurai section that says this. And it just leads to, like, a cluster frag. So yeah. I do see a lot of the Sleeping Tiger Synergist business code taking the best options, like Ares Alpha, and I'm gonna be admit I've written a character generation guide which basically tells you take XYZ, it's good, you should do it. Take a gun with stick and shock and APDS, because when you're shooting guns, you're putting them down ASAP.
Yeah, that's like what I do basically on all my combat monsters. It's either APDS or stick and shock. I want to kill them, or I want to stun them.
And you want to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah, you want to do it in one shot normally.
Because that's why you shoot a gun. You don't shoot to tickle.
Do you feel that this is because, as a whole, organized play is a little bit different than a home game or, say, a one-shot?
Oh, definitely. Organized play is a completely different set. I've had a lot of discussions on the differences between organized play, one-shots, and home games. Home games are much more central GM focused. You've got a group of friends or people you know who you play with. There's the GM can do more homebrew, can do more sort of tailoring to the players. There can be more character input, character development, all kind of narrative focus. Organized play is more focused on getting as many people into games as possible, which in itself is amazing, because the amount of people who go, I don't have a group to play with, oh god, this is worse than death, is insane on the internet. So you give people the opportunity to play. However, it will never be as in-depth an experience as a home game, which is unfortunate, but a fact of life. And one-shots are sort of even extension of that. They're not as in-depth as a shared universe, organized play sort of thing, but they still get you playing the game of Shadowrun, playing RPGs, and which is ultimately what you want to do.
Yeah, cool. All right. Is there any more that you guys want to kind of say about our main overruling topic, which is kind of talking about rules in terms of, what is best, people using the best all the time, people not using the worst? Is there any more closing statements or anything you guys want to talk about?
I think I can't think of any at the moment.
Don't feel confined to Seattle, brah. Expand your horizons and then change shit up to make sense.
No,
Shadowrun is a game that is absolutely makes no sense. Just
Yeah.
you have to accept that.
Well, I was going to say, one of the reasons why I have to kind of play like why I felt like I have to kill people in one shot is because in the it probably rolls down with the environment I've been playing in is if there's always been like one min-max dude, and because of that one min-max dude, all the enemies have to be scaled up to their level. So if the rest of the party's weak, we can't deal with them except for that one powerful dude that we have. So yeah,
And that comes with the disassociation of, strength, like with play. So, if you decide you're all min-maxing, that's fine. But if one guy min-maxes and no one else does, that hurts the party because the GM can no longer balance encounters. Because you got one Strength Sam with 5d6 initiative and deals 20 million damage in 5.0 seconds, and then you got the face, which is like, bang, 3 damage.
I roll 12 dice to con. Please,
Yeah.
what?
And Street Sam is like, you do realize I can do that.
yeah,
You've got to build
I can do that better than
characters
you.
Yeah, you've got to build characters on a similar level. If everyone's starting out and like street level, not that good at like the game, so they have like 9 dice, 12 maybe their maximum, and everyone's on that level, that's fine. Your GM can balance for that. You don't have to be going up against corporate mega soldiers who roll in obscene amounts of dice. But the opposite is true. If you're like all min-maxed and crazy murder killer prime runners, legitimate way of playing, and it's prime setting, and you can do that.
I've seen a system, Mutants and Masterminds, where you pick a power level, and then that power level has a bunch of like caps at it caps off at particular bonuses you can get. Like you only get +4 to these at this power level and stuff. Even though like you might have these things that will total to like +8, it will cap you off at +4, and I think that's all right for like balancing things. If you're
Well, that's what limits in Shadowrun 5th edition were actually put in for. Ultimately,
Yeah,
they put them
limits.
so high, it doesn't really do much, to be honest. But they're there for a
Unless
reason.
you build your
badly.
character wrong.
Yeah, unless you build badly.
all min-maxers know how to get around limits.
Yes.
On the whole sort of organized play sort of side, big reason why you see the optimized characters coming through is because in organized play, everyone needs to be on at least somewhat equal footing. Otherwise, you end up with people who build poor characters who have like 6 dice in their main skill, never played Shadowrun before, get into a game and go, why am I useless? So you're sort of encouraged to build to a level that is semi-equal playing field, and that sort of means sometimes taking ivory tower stuff. However, it's never like encouraged. You must take Sleeping Tiger, you must be best at soak all the time, otherwise you will never play a game.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes you see people kind of doing that. Like I remember when I was looking into Runner Hub a lot, and I saw in their character creation area, it was a little bit volatile. Like newbies coming in with okay characters and ultimately being slammed for not having a very specific item. But
we've reformed the character sort of creation thing a lot. There was a lot of like attitudes we fixed, hopefully. And we're trying to make it so that you don't yell at new players. You only yell at people who are making disgusting cheese monsters that make you cry on the inside.
Yeah. All right.
Like 15 agility.
15 agility, you can do it.
I've done it.
For what purpose?
I've been doing it.
Hey, if you can tell me how you get 15 agility in Shadowrun, put it in the comments below. You'll get a prize, you won't. But anyway.
You won't. I'll personally comment it and down thumb your comment.
Alrighty, so I think that's pretty much it. We've talked a whole lot about this, and even I think I've gotten some inspiration for some new topics in the future. So if you guys like this kind of talky, kind of rambly bullshit that we've got going on here about certain topics, comment below, or even got some topics you want us to talk about, chuck them in below. I mean, organized play, maybe one in the near future, seeing as notbob had a lot to say about that, and so do I. Anyway, so see you later. This was Master Blah, and with me today is Notbob and Bluey. And see you later.
Leave me
Yeah.
alone.